Hello everyone, it is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from inside of Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida to help you wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to tell you about all of this week's latest and greatest in indie and small press new releases. But of course, before we can wind down our weekend with comics, we've got to figure out what wine we're drinking. And today we are drinking a wine that is actually a gift from, if you shop at Bad City, you know him as Goth Steve, but from the awesome Steve and Lily, they gave us this for Christmas. This is a Zaccardi Q. It's a Malbec, which means it's Argentinian, and it is, you said it's got vanilla and cherry, what did you say? Chocolate, vanilla, plum, all the things that I expect in a Malbec, but if you have never had one, you know, those are good key notes that you're probably going to see in them. So we're going to smell this. It smells like chocolate and plum. Matt's like the smell expert because he got a smell test thing for Christmas. So I expect him to be able to tell you all what it smells like exactly.
Smoke.
You smell the smoke?
Yeah. And a hint of mushroom.
Oh, mushroom and smoke. All right. Well, let's see what it tastes like. It's very dry.
Very dry. Wow.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what I just tasted.
Plum. Blackberry. Hint of blackcurrant.
But it's very much got an earthy taste to it, too. I mean, I don't know if that's that mushroom that you say is on there or what, but it definitely has some kind of like earthy, and maybe that's just a blackcurrant. But yeah, what is it? What is the earthy thing? I don't know. I'm like, does it say? No. It does say that it has herbs in it. So
The internet also said leather.
Leather?
Could be an earthy.
Could be the earthy taste.
Minerals.
I don't know. This is definitely one of those wines, though, that I'm like, there's going to be a completely different flavor to this wine in 30 minutes because there's so many different tastes on the first, like, opening. And we just opened it, so it hasn't had a chance to open up at all. And so I have a feeling that we're going to, in a little bit, be like, oh, there's the insert flavor palette that is known for. But thank you so much to Steve and Lily. We're very excited to drink this. I know already that's going to taste really good with food, so I'm excited. This is going to taste excellent with a charcuterie board. But yeah, so we're going to slide this over. We're going to be drinking that throughout the night. And yeah, things that happened at Bat City this week. Oh my gosh, well, it was Christmas. So happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I know Kwanzaa just started. I know that, Hanukkah ended right before Christmas, and so this year, so happy holidays to everybody. We had an awesome time on Christmas Eve. We had our Christmas Eve potluck. It was our first one on Christmas Eve ever, and it was really awesome. There was a ton of people that came and stayed throughout the night. There was some that came just for a little bit to pop in and out, and so we're so excited that everybody came. Shout out to everybody who stopped by, and a huge thank you to everybody that made food. There was so much. Our friends Mike and Ash, they actually made a full turkey and all the side dishes and stuff to go with it, which was incredible. So thank you again to everybody who participated in that and who came and hung out and celebrated the holiday with us. And then, it was just so busy. We didn't have any events this week other than that, and it was just incredible. So thank you all for stopping in and spending some of your holiday week with us. That said, it is another holiday week with the new year approaching. We will, of course, be closed tomorrow and Tuesday, as we always are, but we will be open on Wednesday for New Comic Day, so you can get your Ultimate in games, don't worry. And we will only be open from 11 to 5, so we'll be closing at 5 p.m. this Wednesday for New Year's Eve to give everybody time to go home and figure out their plans and things like that, get off the road if you don't want to be on it. And then we will be closed New Year's Day, and we will reopen over the Friday, Saturday, the weekend on regular hours. So Closed Thursday, open until 5 on Wednesday. Keep that in mind. And then we don't have any events coming up until January, but January 7th, to give everybody more time to spend for the holidays with their family and friends. But if you are looking for those events, that event calendar is already up on Instagram, and all of the events are up on Facebook. And I'm just going to call that a Christmas miracle, because it's not even the end of December yet, and it's already up everywhere but on our website. But it is up everywhere else. So yay, go team. happy Christmas and New Year and all of those great things. Anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on right now. We have a lot of books. I don't know if y'all know, but like the week of like Christmas, New Year kind of time period, we always see a lot of comics coming out, especially like in the indie circuit. And so look at this. This is our Christmas Eve haul, I guess you could say, of comics. And so we've got a lot that we're going to be talking about today. And I'm not going to lie, there are 4 picks of the week this week. What? I know. It's crazy. It's the end of the year, and there's a lot of really good things coming to an end, so we're going to talk about all of those when we get there, but we're just going to kick it off right now with a little bit of holiday spirit, and I'm not going to lie, every single holiday book this week, I kind of wanted to cry. And we're going to kick it off with Saturday morning cartoons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 32 from IDW. This is such a cute, adorable thing. So if you don't know, the Saturday Morning Adventures version of Ninja Turtles is the cartoon-based story. So you're getting all of the characters the way you remember them from the classic Ninja Turtles cartoon, which makes this really great for both kids and adults. But in this issue, we kind of take a break from everything that's happening as Raphael and Casey go to the mall to try to do some Christmas shopping. And while they're there, they're talking about how much Casey hates Christmas because when he was a kid, he really wanted this certain present and Santa didn't bring it to him, and he feels like he deserved it because he beat up all the bullies in school and that made him good, and he didn't know why that didn't put him on Santa's list. And so while they're at the mall, Casey's like, I'm going to confront Santa Claus about why he's a jerk. Well, they don't ever get the chance to do it because somebody actually attacks the mall and tries to steal the presents for the orphans and attack all the children. And it's up to Casey and Raphael to actually step in and save the day. And it's so funny because Casey is like, I don't even want to help Santa. Like, he's just like so bitter. And then Raphael's like, but what about the kids, Casey? Really cute story, absolutely fun time. I love the fact that when we flash back to see little kid Casey, he still has the mask on. Like, he's just never had a face, and I think it's adorable. Absolutely perfect, wonderful holiday read. If you are looking for a present for somebody that's a Turtles fan that you didn't get something for yet, grab them that issue, because you don't need anything else. You just need to enjoy it and have fun. We've got Void Rivals, issue 25 from Image Comics, the Skybound imprint, and our Inner John universe. This is kind of the cornerstone piece of the crossover between Transformers and G.I. Joe as Robert Kirkman is building what he's kind of basing the world around. If you don't know Void Rivals, it has been about the fact that there's 2 warring planets. Both of them seem to, like, say that they're, the other people are so different they can't get along with each other. Well, we found out in the very first issue that that's not actually the case, and they are very similar, but they are not allowed to come together because if they did, some really dark, terrible things would happen. And 2 of our people didn't actually believe that. They brought everybody together, and now guess what? Terrible, dark things are actually happening. And in this issue, we're dealing with those. This is the start of a new arc that's going to be talking about a new war that we're facing, and basically these guys made some terrible decisions about what to do with their lives, and now that the war has come to them, we're kind of seeing everybody have their fallout. Our main character, like Dakin, and he's kind of dealing with the fact that maybe his dad wasn't lying and that there is some crazy stuff going on, as well as some of the other characters in this issue. And we do see our big mighty warrior actually himself, like, I feel like the gods have used me, and what do we do to move on from there? A lot of big questions, similar questions that are asked in Thundercats issue 22 from Dynamite, actually. As if you don't know the Thundercats series, we've been we've been following along as a group of the Thundercats have actually been living on Third Earth after Thundara has been destroyed. And recently we've seen the return of Lion-O after a big, long stint away. And it's kind of put us on a path where we are finding out that there are a lot more Thundercats on Third Earth than we thought. And in the last issue, we discovered that one of them is Jaga, who is supposed to be the one who sent them all here, who they all thought was dead, who all this stuff happened. And Lion-O's like, you know what? Everything that we've learned from all these people, I don't trust you. And like, what's going on and why have you been lying to all these people? And we learned the history of the Gray Cats, which is basically this secret force that Jaga had that kind of put them, you know, like they did all the spy work and all the dark works to try to figure out how to keep the Thundercats and Thundara safe. And we learn in this, we learn Calico's story and how she became a Gray Cat and why she dedicated her life to that. Except the story that we're hearing and the story that is reality may be something she doesn't even know. And so we are kind of still kind of, like I said, having that same conversation of, you know, are the people in charge telling us the truth, and is anything we've ever thought was real? And I love that all of these characters are kind of questioning it right now. We've got Hello Darkness, issue 17 from Boom Studios. And of course, our lovely Jenny Frison cover. If you don't know, Hello Darkness is an anthology filled with horror, and every holiday season they kind of give us a little theme moment. And we have a couple of different stories in this one that kind of go around the Christmas holiday. The first one is all about a guy who, his father is dying, and him and his wife and his son have come back to their family home to deal with the dad dying on Christmas. And he's like, look, it's Christmas. Could you just, like, give us the legacy that is ours and just kind of die because you've been a terrible parent? And we learn entirely what that legacy is and how things aren't always as they seem in your family problems and things of that nature. And then we've got some additional stories. The second story in here is all about a guy who wakes up and realizes that everybody on the ship that he's on has been destroyed. Something happened, like a death has happened, and he starts to revisit the time period, and he's kind of telling us like the story, and we're seeing it going backwards in time in one of those twisty turny Zach Kaplan things as he tries to figure out what happened to everybody on the ship. And then we have a story called One of Us, which is all about a woman and a man who are hiking through the woods. And they're trying to figure out what happened to his friend. And these two just recently met in a bar and decided to go hiking together. And they come across a stranger in the woods and learn that, you know, sometimes things in the woods aren't what they seem, and there's a darkness to them. And then the last story, I love this Christmas image. I'm going to show you that. The last story is called The Pothole, and it's all about a man who is trying to get the pothole outside of his house filled in, because if he doesn't, he feels like it's starting to take things, and not just cars and tires, but, you know, maybe there's some dangerous things inside for people, and he really wants them to fix it. But bureaucracy has rules and ways that things get fixed. And so it's a really great look at what it looks like to go talk to your city council about issues in your city. But lots of great stories, lots of fun little pinups and things in Hello Darkness as usual. We've got Gotcha Man, issue 15 from Mad Cave. This is based off of the long-running like anime Gotcha Man and all of the manga world and everything that it existed in, but bringing us new stories with the Science Ninja team. And if you've been following this story, there was at one point a secondary team that was kind of training to become the second wing of the Ninja Science team, the Science Ninja team. And they got to a point where they were kind of corrupted by the bad guy to believe that they were never actually going to become the first string, and that they would never be treated fairly in the way that they thought they should. And he convinced them to come over to his side and be bad guys. And so in this issue, we are seeing the first face-off of the Science Ninja team and the New Blackbirds, which consist of their old friends, but there is something else afoot that nobody is prepared for, and who's on whose side and who's actually playing who is going to be a big conversation as the continuation of Gotcha Man goes on. I love that this series, like they just keep bringing us new, like this an ongoing that for this world. We've got Hornsby and Halo, issue 13 from Image Comics and your Ghost Machine imprint. This is such a fun story, just one of those perfect, like truly perfectly all ages book about two kids, one who is supposed to be the future of angels, who is supposed to bring the good in the world and kind of rule over judgment, and one who is a demon who is supposed to basically provide all the evil for the world. To keep that from actually happening, they've been sent to the human world and forced to live with parents of the opposite nature. And so our demon girl child is living with the nicest people on the planet, and our angel boy is living with the absolute worst. Recently in this arc, they've been brought to New York City, where they've been separated from their parents, and they found out that there is a place where they can actually go and make the choice to give up their powers. And so in the last issue, they kind of made the choice to go to that place that they were kind of led to unknowingly, and see what actually happens. And in this issue, they are going back and forth on, do they want to actually keep these powers, or do they want a chance to actually just be 13-year-old kids? And what would it look like on each capacity? But there's always somebody else in the middle of the fight causing problems for them. And so these two have to make choices quickly, and also have to figure out, like, what does it mean to even just be kids if that is what they wanted. We've got Rockefellers, issue 11 from Image Comics and our Ghost Machine imprint. This is our other side of the Family Odyssey universe, which is their all ages, more friendly stories. And in this one, we've been following a family from the future who had to come to the past because of some dangerous situations for them, and the only place to hide was kind of in our time period. And we've learned at this point that all of the problems are kind of centralized around this one family, the Rockefellers, who have invented some technology that people really want to get their hands on. And now the dad is kind of the sought after person. He's led his family here, and they are being chased down by the bounty hunter, who also just happens to be their aunt. And she is really trying to get her hands on this dad and bring him back at whatever cost it is to the family. And in this issue, they've teleported to a new place, and they're trying so hard to get away, but she keeps catching up with them. And they have this moment where everybody kind of tries to explore what kind of sacrifice they could make for the family, and what that would actually do for them, and whether or not, like, everybody kind of tries to take their turn to actually save the day. And it's just a really heartwarming story. And the fact that, like, your good guys, your bad guys, your people you're unsure of are all connected to this one family, like, it really gives, like, an interesting dynamic to a great story. We've got DuckTales, issue 10 from Dynamite Comics and their Disney imprint. This is our Christmas issue, and it leaves all of the kids and everybody else in town with one question on their mind. What do you get the duck that has everything? With Scrooge McDuck actually owning all of the things, and also kind of being offended by the spending of money, what would you actually get him that he would find interesting? And while we get to see every single member of the town that has this relationship with Mr. McDuck go in different places to try to figure out what to get him. And it's Huey, Dewey, and Louie's big task. They really just feel like Uncle Scrooge always takes care of them. And as they all try to figure it out, you get to see their paths cross, and everybody kind of come to terms with maybe there's a different way to get a present for Scrooge than just to buy him something. Because, you know, it's not always about money, even when it's always about money. So it's a really cute, heartfelt issue. And much like the Ninja Turtles book, you don't actually have to read any of the other issues to be a part of the story. We've got Biker Mice from Mars, issue 7 from Oni Press and the Nacelleverse. This has been following along as the Biker Mice have been trying to save their home planet from the Plutarchians, who have come to just wreck Mars in such big capacity. And recently, the only person who could save the day was kidnapped by the Plutarchians, who took them off of Mars. And so our Biker Mice have gone into space to try to figure out what is going on. And in the last issue, one of the mice fell from space and landed on a different planet. And the coolest thing about that is it is actually the planet of the Sectars, which is another group of people from the Nacelleverse, and a group that we've seen have one of the miniseries from Oni. And they are in the middle of their own battle against the spider people, who are absolutely terrible. And Vinny the Mouse is like, I don't have time to help you. I have to get back to my people. But then realizes, hey, y'all are dealing with the same stuff I am. I should totally help you because I would want somebody to help us if that was a possibility. And so we just get to see him kind of face that battle. And it's a little side quest essentially from the story that we've been following as we just get to see how those worlds could cross over from the Nacelverse, and maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of these groups kind of crossing over and their paths here and there. So a lot of fun, and again, kind of one that you don't really need to know too much about the story overall to see. We've got Sleep issue 7 from Image Comics. This has been a story that's got that slow-moving sense of dread, and what's great about it is our narrator is the absolute most unreliable character in this story by far. This is following a young boy who finds himself falling asleep and then waking up where vicious monster type attacks have occurred, and it's nobody knows what was doing these murders, what's committing these problems. And over the last 7 issues he's been like, okay, I have to get help, I have to get out of here, like he's killing everybody in town, like something bad is going on, and the only person that is still kind of supporting him is his best friend, and she takes him to a place where he can get help. And now we're in that place in this and they're trying to do this research, but it seems like they have their own, nefarious purpose here, and they've started just testing him and testing him and testing him, but not actually providing him with any answers. And he ends up making a friend with one of the scientists who's doing the research, and is like, what is actually going on? And we get kind of the closest thing to answers we've had the whole series, and yet more questions develop than ever before. If you like books that are just like, how slow can we take this, like, and just kind of keep you like guessing what it actually is, this is such a good one. And there's this little bit of spot color that is used in the book that we're finally starting to see may actually mean something with the story, which is cool. We've got Godzilla Escape the Dead Zone, issue 5 from IDW. Oh my gosh, there's so many Image books back to back. I was like, no, from IDW. This is a part of our Kaisei era, which is the new thing in the Godzilla world, which is basically giving us a lot of Godzilla kaiju like human half-breeds and people who are getting kind of power from the power of Godzilla. And so in Escape the Dead Zone, we are actually seeing a world where the Dead Zone is kind of like a place that was destroyed by a Godzilla attack. And now the people who are there are either people who are completely down on their luck or people who worship Godzilla. And there's a lot of things going wrong here. And our group consists of a half like kaiju, half human person, 2 very small children who seem to have some secret powers of their own, and now a giant girl who has an obsession with Godzilla that transformed herself into a giant, hoping that Godzilla would love her in the way that 8-year-olds want to marry like Donatello from the Ninja Turtles and things like that. Unfortunately for our group, 2 of them have been kidnapped by a very mysterious force in a town that seems to be perfect within the Dead Zone, but it's definitely up to no good. And now our kaiju man and our young girl must actually go and try to save the others in a very twisted, like almost like something you would see inside of the Walking Dead kind of universe. It's like Walking Dead meets Mad Max, and these guys have to take it on by themselves, and it gets wild in this issue. We've got the wrap-up of Red Vector with issue 5 from Mad Cave. This is, so if you are a Star Wars fan, this is definitely a book that you are going to enjoy. It has a very Star Wars kind of space opera kind of feeling to it. We've got a guy who is essentially the Han Solo pilot kind of guy, kind of a Han Solo meets Poe Dameron, honestly. And a guy whose brother is essentially like your Darth Vader, but he's not necessarily innocent in the world either, but now that he's trying to stand against his brother, he actually accidentally opens up a portal that leads him and our Han Solo kind of character to Earth, and they fall on this planet, and they are met by a woman who is a park ranger who is able to help them kind of get back on their feet, only to have this space, like the evil empire come their way, and they must now fight against that themselves. And they're kind of teaming up with their ragtag group to make that battle happen. This issue is that battle, and it kind of shows us all the different pieces of the puzzle in this wrap-up. Like, what did we actually learn? Where did we go from? And where do we go from here? Like, if we win this battle, what actually happens? Because now, like, the world knows about aliens, and aliens know about the world. And so we get to see what that war outside of Earth, but for Earth, kind of looks like. All right, we've got Tama, issue 5 from Panic. I just love to touch Panic books because they're so smooth and so soft. This is such a wild book. Absolutely crazy, hands down, off-the-wall concept. But if you don't know, basically Tama is about a young kid who gets his hands on an old Tamagotchi kind of companimal situation, and he is like, oh my gosh, I have no friends, but now I have this little animal companion that's an electronic, like, Tamagotchi kind of thing. Well, guess what? Turns out the reason these things were discontinued is because when these animals don't get enough attention, they don't just die in the game, they come to life and they take everybody out. You hurt their owner's feelings, they're going to kill you. And Tama just happened to be the very worst one. And he is now loose on the world, and he is causing destruction everywhere he goes. And the young boy Kit, who has had Tama as his friend all this time, realizes now that he's going to have to put Tama down in some way. And they are teaming up with literally everybody that could possibly be helpful that's not already dead in this town, trying to figure out how to stop him. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is if Tama could continue to grow and evolve, and they have such a short window of opportunity to do it. It's such, like, classic stakes of, like, hey, there's a ticking time bomb and we've got to figure it out. So good. You guys have to check it out if you haven't yet. Plus, in the back of this issue, we get a bonus story, which is the first time we've had that in the back of a Tama issue, and it is actually called Tamumu. And it's basically like, what if they made Labubus out of the Tama characters? And so we see a young girl who once, I love this, I have to point this out. This is a shout out moment. This story is actually written by our friend Timmy Heeg, whose comic store is Arsenal, and he made it Absolute Archer Comics is the store that they go to in this thing, and I already had to message him and be like, genius, I love it, Timmy. But this is so cool. They have the Tama guys come to the Tamumu guys come to, there's not a lot of pictures of it, so I don't want, it's a really short story. The Tamumus come to this comic book shop, and of course, like, one guy comes in and is like, there's no limit on it, I'm buying all of them except for this one with the damaged box. And a little girl actually gets in it. It just happens to be the super rare, and it sparks the start of our story. I believe we're gonna get a second part of the Tamumu to come. It says they'll be to be continued in the Tama Companimal in May 2026. So we'll see another Tamumu story to come. And I'm excited to see that there's more Tama to possibly come as well. But shout out to Panic, and shout out to Timmy for that story, because I know Timmy's Labubu obsession, so I thought it was perfect that he made a story for it. All right, I'm going to take another drink before we jump into the next things. We are drinking the Zagardi Q, which is a Malbec from our friend Steve and Lily. Whoa, I didn't expect that much spice to come out of it when I took that big of a drink. Wow, that has way more spice now. I messed up. I didn't mean to take that big of a drink. Oh my god. That's good though. Oh my gosh.
It's very dry still.
Very dry. It's not, yeah. This is, if you are not a red wine drinker, this is not something you'll probably be able to jump into, because it is more of like a spicy, dry wine. And I know that's the thing that scares people off of red wines. This is definitely on that end of the spectrum. However, as somebody who loves spicy red wines that are dry, I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely advanced in terms of red wine. This is possibly the driest red wine we've had on this show.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
On the show for sure.
It's very good.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. I know Steve's been trying to nail the wine for us that we would like. He's always bringing us different ones to try and with him. And so, like, Steve, bring this one again and we should drink it together, because I would love to share this experience with you. All right, so we're going to keep going. We've got Nocturnals, The Sinister Path. This is issue 4 of 4 from Dark Horse. I hope that we see more Nocturnals. I'm sure we will. This is a series that's been running since like the 80s. However, you don't have to know that to read this, because I didn't until we were like halfway through. So it's totally fine. But it's a great one if you're a fan of things like Mark Spare's Monsters, because you are getting another monsters world that is kind of painted images. And we've been following this story as our main character, who's kind of the monster investigator, the detective, and his gun witch, who's kind of his handler, like, have been going around and doing this investigation on a doctor who has had something go down. And while they were in the house that they were looking at the murder of this doctor in, his daughter, who has the ability to speak to spirits and that are kind of like in the toy, and she kind of traps them in toys so that she can talk to them. She found out that there is a spirit, a mysterious one, in the house, and she has kind of helped to solve that situation. And we kind of saw all that wrap up in the last issue, and this is like, okay, now we're crossing paths with everybody connected to that story, and we're having this showdown of seeing how everybody's connected to each other, and also like what do they all need to know for going forward in the future, and building up whatever the next adventure in the Nocturnals world is going to be. I have to say, if Dark Horse put out a collection of Nocturnals right now, it would probably do killer. So if you're from Dark Horse and you're watching the show, like, seriously, put out some Nocturnals collections, and also I want one. But seriously, this has been so popular for us. Everybody's been really loving it. The characters that are in here are so cool. I would love to see if each of them kind of get their own stories throughout the history of it. I'm definitely going to be looking into it. If you're somebody who wants to know if there's more Nocturnals compendiums or anything like that, I'm going to be trying to figure it out. In Dark Horse, if we don't figure it out between now and February, when I have you face to face, just know that that's what I'm going to be asking for. So you got till February to figure it out. We've got Powers, issue 4 from Dark Horse. This is the 25th anniversary of Powers, and so the team decided to bring it back and tell us a whole new story in there. And it's been, you know, they're staying real to time. So it's been 25 years since the events of the original Powers story. And now we've got a new detective who is the child of the detective previously. And she's working in the Powers department, which is the part of the police department that handles super-powered crimes and activities and things of that nature. Except up until now, they've never let anybody who actually had powers work in that department. And this is actually, in this issue, the first time that we get to see a superpowered person actually get brought onto that force. And it's not even on purpose. Like, they had to like manipulate the system to bring him in. And he is now the new partner of our main character. And it's perfectly timed because we have a big mystery happening. And I mean big because it was actually like a giant powered person who was attacked. But there is a mystery afoot, and we are struggling to solve it. And things are getting crazier as they're starting to enact new laws that protect and also don't protect powers in all the ways that are making it hard for the police to do their job. And of course, the police are somehow getting implicated in these crimes in ways they don't understand either. And so big mysteries coming our way, and we're going to see exactly how they play out. We've got Event Horizon Dark Descent issue 4 from IDW. This is based off of the Event Horizon movie. It's kind of telling us that story about the ship that went missing. I think it tells me my time frame in here. In 2040, the starship Event Horizon disappeared, and 7 years later it reappeared. All of its crew is dead. This is the story of what happened. If you've seen the movie, I know that fans of this movie are really loving this comic. If you haven't seen the movie, guess what? You can actually read this book because it's the story of what happened. So it's actually the whole thing. What I like about what they're doing is while all of the ship's crew, like it says, do die, we actually get to see each of them kind of experiencing what this monster that's come through this portal and that's like ransacking the ship is doing. They each kind of have this flashback to what their life was before and how they ended up on the ship. And then they're kind of tortured by that past. By this essentially like alien demon thing, and it's kind of leading each of them to feel like they either have nothing left but to die, or that they are the failures who are going to cause everybody else on the ship to die. It's really dark and twisted. I mean, it's called Dark Descent. It's a really like a descent into madness that we see for each character. And it is wild. And this issue kind of goes through the captain and what he, how he's failed his crew. And we're going to see, we obviously know, I guess, because it says, like, everybody died. So I guess nobody's going to make it out alive. But I'm still like, maybe there's an issue where we'll find out that they're all okay. I don't think that's going to happen. We've got Blink and You'll Miss It, issue 4 from Boom Studios. This is all about 2 women who are from this town where essentially, like, the church in the town kind of has a really dark secret, and they seem to be sacrificing children to these mysterious kind of creatures that are coming through the town. And the thing about this book that's interesting is it's not told linearly at all. We're seeing one of the girls, like, she even says in this, like, she's writing letters to a girl who got away, and who she like loved and wanted to be, in a relationship with. But as she's writing these letters, she's also talking about how she's essentially lived everything in here multiple times, because as she keeps going through these experiences, it's like she keeps getting sucked back and forth in time and having to live it over and over again, and yet she can't make any difference. And so it gives us the chance to see the story as she bounces back and forth in the time. But at the same time, is she actually going to make it out? Is there any hope for her? I think we have one more issue. I'm not quite sure, but like, I'm really curious to see like where this actually is going to go. And, it's like blink and you'll miss it, because like everything is happening simultaneously and yet not at all. It's so twisty. We've got Creepshow. This is volume 4, issue 4 from Image Comics and our Skybound universe. And of course, if you know your Creepshow world, you know that this is also a horror anthology that gives us 2 different stories every issue. And in this issue, the first one is a new story by Senna Grace, which is all about a corporation in the future that basically the way that they make these eco trucks, and so they have this thing where they're like, our trucks don't break down, they do really well, and that's because they essentially put people in these pods, and they are the tires of the truck. And like, it's so weird because you like actually experience whatever happens to you when you're working as a tire, and you get to see just the way the corporation like uses these people and all the ways that they're kind of siphoning this energy. And it's like, oh, it's clean energy because it's not rubber and it's not destroyed on the street, and it's like, oh, we just patch up the injuries from the humans and then they're back out, and it's so much better than throwing away tires. But it gets darker than that, if you can imagine, as it goes on. And then we get a story that's called Night of the American Boyfriend, and it's all about a guy who feels like he doesn't measure up to his girlfriend's family's expectations when he's going to stay at their house. And he's telling the story about this monster that kind of attaches itself to him as he's on this first meeting with his girlfriend's family, or this first stay with his girlfriend's family. And we kind of see the twists and turns of where that leads him, and the girl and everything that kind of comes from that. And that one, I don't want to spoil anything about what happens, so I'm not going to show you anything more. But again, if you want like your creepy stories that kind of tell you like a fun like one-shot story, that's always Creepshow's always a safe one to go with. We've got Flow, issue 4 from Mad Cave. This book is your classic horror, like teen horror story in the vein of like Carrie and all of those. This is going to give you that kind of story, but the twists and turns that it's taking are just so good. This is all about a group of kids who, when they're at summer camp, one of the girls gets her period for the first time, and they're not allowed to talk to her about what it is because they have to respect like each family's wishes. And they are like, oh, well, we're not allowed to talk to kids about things of a sexual nature, so we can't explain it to her. And so the other kids start bullying her and make up that she's been cursed, and just teasing her and making her do all of these different things that are very like, half like bullying you expect at a summer camp and half like extremely bad. Well, now we fast forward and we're telling both stories at the same time. So we see the future as we go back and forth with this. And in this future, each of the kids who were bullies are now experiencing these mysterious occurrences in their life in the modern times that are very similar to the types of bullying that they did to the young girl at the camp. And so they all believe that maybe this girl who like is cursing them, but also like nobody's seen her and everybody thought she was dead, and like where could she be doing this from and what's going on? And so we just get, like I said, this like classic ghost story of this revenge, like horror kind of situation of like, where's this magic coming from and what is happening and why are we all seeing these things? And in this issue, they realize they have to go back to the camp and kind of research what they did and how maybe they can stop it before it's too late. We've got Skinbreaker issue 4 from Image Comics and your Skybound universe. This is a Robert Kirkman story, which has incredible David Finch art on it. That's all about a village of people and the way that they've kind of run things, which is that they've always had this one person who kind of rules over, and that chieftain is chosen for the tribe by a fight between them and other people. And in our first couple issues, we saw a chieftain who was old and needed to retire get threatened to be challenged by the absolute like warmonger, and the only way that they could stop it is another man steps in and challenged that so that he could let this man become the chief and not let this bad guy become it. Well, now we're at the point where things have moved on. It's been like a generation essentially. These people are coming to the end of like their time, and our chieftain has realized that the monsters in the woods that they've always been fighting against have finally figured out how to actually fight against the things that they've been doing to protect from them. And he's trying to change the way his people defend themselves against it. But our warmonger guy's still at it, still believes the only way you can do it is by being strong. And so he challenges him in this issue to a fight. And even while that's going on, our chieftain is still trying to say, like, we have to actually change our ways. We have to move on to different things, no matter what happens. And the guy, like, won't hear it. And so where we go from there in this battle is really interesting. We've got Stitch, issue 4 from Dynamite and their Disney imprint. This is such a cute series. This is just Stitch getting into hijinks every time. And it's so funny because it's always, our evil inventors trying to come up with something new to take over the world, and Stitch accidentally messing it up every time. And in this one, the invention is that they've created a way to punch a hole into dimensions so that they can travel between them, essentially creating wormholes. And Stitch, of course, assembles the thing that they've created and actually starts using it, sending all 3 of them to multiple dimensions throughout time and space. And we just get to see some hilarious adventures as they go through it, trying to figure out, like, maybe they need to stop Stitch from doing this, and also maybe they need to just accept, like, that they don't need to be evil in every world, and maybe also learning about other worlds isn't an evil thing, but it's actually a smart thing to do. Again, just a really cute, really fun adventure. I always you always like laugh, cry, want to hug Stitch, and just have really good feelings after you read the Stitch comic. Right. We've got Red Book issue 3 from Dark Horse and the Tiny Onion Collective. If you read James Tynion's Blue Book, this is the same thing, but with different, like with the Soviet Union and other like communist countries and the things that they discovered. And so this one takes place in Russia in 1989, and specifically the 80s in general. And we kind of see that they talk about the different sightings that they had of UFOs in the 80s, and the different things that people said they saw, and how, like, there was one situation where a bunch of kids all seemed to say that they saw the same thing, the same kind of alien appearing, and the same situation with the UFO, and they all drew the same thing. They all were in interviews forever, and actually, like, none of them will talk about it now. And so all the different things that happen, and how it's weird that those kids came out with the same story. And then we get to see a couple of other things, because we start to see, like, the creation of their department and how it kept up with what these UFO sightings were. And it's interesting because in the story, like in the review of all this, James Tynion mentions the fact that they used the UFO sightings and the idea that there might be aliens as part of their like Red Scare tactic, because they were also developing psychic warfare at the time, and so they really used it. And so it was like, so a lot of people have contested like maybe the Soviet Union didn't actually have these sightings, maybe this is a part of their scare. But there is a thing where they talk about how in, I think he says in China, that they didn't actually have any of that. They've never used UFO phenomenon to kind of spread any misinformation. And yet there is actually reports of the same exact kind of instances happening in Chinese history and stuff. And so they're like, around the same times, and it's like, no, I think maybe those UFOs actually did there. And like there's a lot of stuff in their files where it's like, oh, this person died because of exposure to UFO radiation, oh, this person died because of this. And it's like, okay, so you won't say that UFOs are real, but you'll say that people died to exposure to UFOs. Interesting. And then at the back, as with all Red Book and Blue Book issues, we get a story of just some of the paranormal, supernatural things, really a lot of the cryptid stuff that we see being told about in America. And this one specific, or not even America, just around the world. And this one is about a man who believes that he saw the dog man, which is a dog and a man hybrid kind of situation, and his story of that and how he's constantly trying to convince anybody who will listen that it happened, but nobody, of course, ever believes him. Always fascinating. Those really, like, the thing about Blue Book and Red Book is it doesn't actually read like stories. It reads like you're reading the docket from these cases and the stuff they're investigating. So it's really cool. It's like X-Files, except you actually have the book to read. All right, we've got Roots of Madness, issue 3 from Ignition Press. This is a slow-moving horror as well that kind of reaches back and like does like a lot of history stuff as well, kind of blends that historical fantasy or historical fiction into this horror story. But this is all about a young woman who has the ability to make all of these medicines. She's kind of become a pharmacist essentially, but her mom before her was the local community's, she also like the medical practitioner, but not the official one. She was kind of more of the woman in the cottage who made the bombs and the salves for the people in the community, the person that everybody went to for that. And she didn't want to share her magic more directly with her daughter. She always said it was really dangerous and not to get involved in magic. And so the daughter went on to college, actually started working, like I said, as a pharmacist, started her own shop, and now she is being recruited by a place called the Meridian Fellowship, who's like based back in her home area, and is like, hey, we want you to come down here and possibly investigate this mysterious flower and the swamps and things down here, where you might be able to actually find this rare medicine that you could build that nobody's ever been able to do. And as she's down there, she realizes this is the same stuff that her mom kind of told her to stay away from. And yet she doesn't stay away. She dives right into it, and she starts using her mom's like grimoire essentially and recipes and things like that to do some research. And some very dark and mysterious things are coming. And this fellowship is definitely going to be at the center of it. But at this point, like, we're still kind of like, what is it? Because it is doing that slow sense of movement that's kind of building us up to the suspense of what could happen. And I'm so curious to see what it's going to be. We've got Voyeur, issue 3, also from Ignition Press. This is the opposite end of the spectrum from Roots of Madness in its like crazy storytelling. But this is all about a woman who is on a mission, essentially. She is on a mission to do two things. One is she wants to find the place that she is going to spread the ashes of a person who meant a lot to her. And the other is that she's gonna steal a lot of art. Her thing is that she worked in an art gallery, and she wants to kind of return these paintings, so she says, back to the people that they belong to, and kind of put art back where it goes. And she has teamed up with an art thief who is working at a resort. And he is the cameraman at this, like the security man on the cameras at this resort. And she knows that he's watching her. And so they kind of create this really illicit affair through him watching her on the cameras, but also like to develop their like super sultry team up that there's going to like, you know, like art thieves, that's sexy. And so they're like coming together on that experience like at the same time. And so you're getting a really like hot, steamy story between the two of them as they kind of develop their relationship in that capacity. This is definitely a very like adult book, which is why I'm not showing you much more in this issue. But it's also a really cool art story, like art thief story, and the way that they're kind of doing that and the way that they're building it up and taking all of the different people out and planning this like heist together is a lot of fun. Honestly, if you like things like Gun Honey and stuff like that, I think this would be a really good one to jump into. It's going to have a little bit more of the story, but still give you all the like hot and spicy at the same time. And there's definitely a lot of hot and spicy in that issue. We've got Masterminds issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is such a fun new story from Zach Kaplan that's just going to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. It is all about a guy who is a video game developer, and he creates a game that he thinks is going to like be the one, and it has mild success, and he's like, man, that didn't work out. And so he goes to work for a corporation, and while he's there, he keeps trying to pitch new games and things, and of course they don't want to hear it. Well, he gets recruited by a secret society that's called the Masterminds, and he's like, I'm going to take on the challenge to get into this society. And one other girl is also trying to get in, and so they end up on this quest together from their job. And over the last couple issues, they have had challenges after challenges that put them in life-threatening situations. And she's kind of at the point now where it's like, hey, like, this is kind of getting too dangerous. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, what is the end of this? And he's like, you don't draw the line until you get to the end. And she's like, I don't understand. And they end up going like to a friend of his house who's another person who kind of like started in the IT, like the tech world with him. And she's telling him, she's like, look, do you just want money so bad that you're willing to risk your life? Like, what about the art? Look at these people. Like, they love the game that you created. Like, I love the game you created. And he's like, that doesn't matter. Like, why can't I have money and a game that people actually care about? And so they're just kind of like, you're seeing a lot of their personalities in this one, but they also they think they've solved a way to break the cube and actually figure out who's behind it. But the thing about people that are called masterminds is they're always at least 6 steps ahead of you, and they end up in a very dangerous predicament at the end of this issue, and we're going to see where it leads them next time. The Guy in the Chair, issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is one of my favorite books on the shelf right now, for sure. I absolutely love this story. It's so much fun. It's one of those awesome action like pack stories, yet building so much at the same time. If you haven't started to read this yet, this is about a guy who works as the handler essentially for a spy in the field, and they work for a private corporation. He is her guy in the chair, telling her where to go. And one day he is given the weekend off, and he's like, okay, like, cool, my person's not going on any missions, because that's the way it works. Like, they're always a team. And when he comes in the next Monday, he finds out that his agent actually did go on a mission without him. And according to the company, she's been killed in battle. But strangely enough, she shows up on his doorstep and is like, hey, guess what? The corporation we work for, totally not the good guys, and also they're after me, and also they're probably after you now, and you're gonna go into the field because we've got to run, and we've got to run now. And so they've been developing this like really cute relationship as it goes on, like both like their friendship, because they've already have this like perfect friendship because they have the best track record. They've been agents and partners together for years, and so they have this cute friendship, but it is blossoming into more. Meanwhile, the bad guys are coming after them. And also in this issue, I don't know who the bad guys are anymore, which is what I love about this book, because every single piece of the puzzle, everybody's kind of an unreliable narrator. Even our narrator, who would totally be reliable, but he has no idea what's going on. And so we're finding it out with him, and he's like, look, I don't know, my mom just needs me to show up with a date to my brother's wedding, and like, I'm stressed about that, and now my partner is gonna die. I don't know. There's so much, and he's so great. I love him as a character. I love our agent as a character. I love this team, and I love all of the dangers they get themselves into. And seriously, this is such a good book. You should definitely pick it up. We've got Maleficent issue 3 from Dynamite and their Disney imprint. This is volume 2 of Maleficent. You didn't have to read volume 1, but it's cool to see that Maleficent is the first of the Disney villains to get 2 stories from the Dynamite line. And so in this one, Maleficent is trying to prove that she is in fact the mistress of all evil, and she wants more power. And so she has recruited these ghouls who are supposed to take her to a different realm, which is going to help her get the power that she needs. And things are not going necessarily Maleficent's way. She's getting really mad about it. And in this issue, she has to awaken the soldier so that she can get his sword from him. And he's like, hey, I'm happy to be back to life. I won't just give you my sword, but if you let me go on the next mission with you, I will give you my sword in the end. And so they skip to the next step in her battle, which is that she has to find the tears of a dragon. And she is going to go into this, she's going into this castle to try to figure out what this dragon is, which makes me think Maleficent herself doesn't have the power to turn into a dragon yet. And maybe this is how we're going to see this actually come to be. I don't know. I love Maleficent, and I love all this. I love that she can turn into a dragon, and I love all the power that she has and all the coolness that she does. And so I'm really excited to see if this is like leading us to the place where Maleficent becomes who we know her as, but she is already calling herself Mistress of Evil, which of course she is, and so can't wait to see where that story unfolds to. We have Gunpowder Prophets number 3 from Mad Cave. Talk about wild adventures. This is about these 2 guys. It's very like 70s, like action comedy kind of thing. But in this story, these 2 guys are assigned a case to go out and save a young girl from her father, who is running a cult, who plans to sacrifice his daughter when they all drink the Kool-Aid, and he thinks he's going to get these mystical powers in doing so. And so they go to actually save the young girl, and they end up breaking her out of the place, and they're on the run. And in the last issue, a bunch of the members of the cult come chasing after them on these motorcycles, and they have this big fight, and they end up killing everybody on the motorcycles, and they get arrested for it. And now they're all in prison or in the local jail. It's like a small town. And the problem is that the leader of the cult apparently did actually get some secret demon powers, and he has revived his biker gang, and they are coming after them again. And we get to see this fight go in a completely different way as these guys have to start the battle again. It gets wild every time, and seriously, if you're just looking for an action book that makes you laugh, this is definitely it. We've got Temporal issue 3, also, this one's also from Mad Cave. This is all about a woman who, her and her husband, when they met, and for their young years of their life, they were actually these time agents who would go back in time and take things from the past and bring them and, sell them on the black market kind of thing. Or they'd go and do, like, different things like that. Essentially, it was like time heist, all kinds of cool things, taking out people in the past. Well, they both retired from that when they had a kid, but in the first issue, it's her son's birthday, and she wanted to get him a present and kind of failed at it, and she didn't get the replica that everybody was after, and so she decides she's just going to go back to the Time Force and, get some people to let her go through and actually go back in time and get her son the thing that he wanted from the original place that it came out, like the original time period came out. And so now, because she did that, the actual time agency she used to work for has figured out that she may be back in the game. And so in this issue, she is called in to them, and they're like, hey, if you're back in the game, you're back with us. You've got to come work for us. We've got a case that you've got to take on. And she's like, oh, can I look it over? And they're like, sure. You also could see your family die. And she's like, okay, I guess I'm back in. And now she's got to lead a double life from not only the world around her, but her son and her husband as well. And things are going to get bad before they get better, for sure. We've got Return to Sleepy Hollow issue 2 from IDW and their Dark imprint, which I really want to see all of the books come out from that, because so far we've got this and 30 Days of Night, which, like, the new one, and they're both fantastic, so good. This actually takes place in the world of the Sleepy Hollow movie. And if you didn't see it, you can still read it. Actually, Santiago thought this was his, like, made issue 1 his pick of the week, and he's never seen that movie. So you can totally jump in without having seen it. But this takes place after that, after Ichabod Crane has left Sleepy Hollow. He's no longer there, but Katrina has returned, and she is running a cemetery and like a morgue and mortuary there. And so as she's working on a case of a bunch of mysterious people who kind of just are dying in the fields, and there's like vines and things growing out of them, and it's really creepy and kind of paranormal. She feels like she doesn't really know what to do, but at the same time, somebody, we know who, but they don't, sends a letter to Ichabod Crane telling him that Katrina needs his help and to come back to Sleepy Hollow to help with the case, even though the people of Sleepy Hollow do not necessarily want that. And so Ichabod returns, and now he and Katrina are working this case together. And there is also a mysterious young girl, Katrina's daughter, who seems to have the ability to speak to ghosts and demons on her own, and she is having conversations with them. And in this issue, we learn a lot about what those conversations are and how they may be tied to what's happening in Sleepy Hollow at the time. It's so good. If you liked the movie, or any of the Sleepy Hollow like folklore in general, you should definitely be picking that book up. We've got American Caper, issue 2 from Dark Horse. What a big week for Dark Horse. This is done by the people who make the Grand Theft Auto, or made the Grand Theft Auto games. So if you are looking for a wild, crazy caper of crime, this is definitely going to be the one for you. This is about a man who, his life is just a mess. He used to feel like he was on top, but now his wife hates him, and she's kind of just obsessed with chat rooms on the internet. And his son thinks he's a loser. His daughter thinks he's a bigger loser. He's got a job working for an agency that kind of just does whatever rich people want, and it's not really necessarily what he wants to do, but he's kind of supposed to be brokering deals, kind of being the legal counsel to these people, but really he's just giving them exactly what they want. Meanwhile, he's also got a gambling addiction, and his neighbor, who seems to have the perfect Christian life, has a deeper, darker secret than anybody else on the block. Also, a van crashed into his house, and there was a bunch of crime going on through that, and he's now kind of wrapped up in all of that. There are so many stories going on. Nobody knows what's going, where to go, what's up, what's down, and it's just kind of like, hey, all the people are bad, and they're just getting worse, and who knows where this is going to go, but it's going to be hilarious as it happens. It is absolutely a great parody of like the genre of these stories, and hilarious the whole way through. And really, you're not supposed to like anybody, and you won't. So they're all terrible people, and bad things are just going to keep happening because of it. We've got Final Boss issue 2 from Image Comics, and this is actually Tyler Kirkham writing a story as well as doing a lot of the art, and I believe he actually has somebody on art with him in this. David Miller. But this is the story of a guy who he works as a professional fighter. Basically, when he was a kid, his grandpa used to tell him stories about the fact that like he once discovered this temple during the war, and while he was in that temple, he had a fight with a god, and the god bestowed his power upon him, and now he kind of has a little bit of that power, but he actually like finds himself suddenly one day like just like awakening all of that power in him, and now he is this gruesome, crazy fighter, and he is being asked to go on a mission to the place where his grandfather once went and kind of fight that same battle, and he's gonna like it's basically gonna be Mortal Kombat, but he's gonna be fighting these gods who are kind of nondescript. Like we don't know which area he's from. He even says like they're not really Greek, they're not really Roman. I don't know where they were, but it's gonna be very brutal, very Mortal Kombat. I mean, it literally says fight, power up, repeat, like as the tagline. So if you're enjoying those like big fight books that are coming out right now, and we're going to talk about some of them in a minute, this is definitely a cool indie version of that kind of story. We've got Ferocious issue 2 from Mad Cave. This is about a young boy who lives in a town that and it's in, one of those universes, kind of like a fantasy universe, and there's these things that are these different these different people who are essentially the monsters of this world, and when they come through, they kind of destroy everything. And in this story, the boy sees one floating in the water in issue 1, and he's like, I can't let anybody die, even this kind of like, you know, a creature that I don't know that they're a killer just because everybody assumes their people are. And he saves that woman from dying, only to have her come through and destroy his entire village afterwards. And he is out for revenge, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you because you destroyed everything. And she's like, actually, technically you did, because if you would have just let me die in that river, your whole family and everybody in your village would be safe right now, but you saved me, so it's just as much on you as it is me. And he's like, I will kill you. And she's like, okay, but not yet. Like, it's not going to be a good fight. I'm going to die. You're going to die, and I'm going to be fine. And so they are on this, like, she's kind of like adopted him to go on this quest with him, and he's going to learn and grow as they go through this adventure. And who knows if he, you know, his whole thing is, I'm going to get powerful enough to kill you. But is that what's going to happen? We're going to see, because we're starting to already see some connections form as the two travel the world together. We've got Hiro Hito, number 2 from Keenspot. This is a really cute story, a Freaky Friday, if you would, kind of story, where a superhero who is extremely overcocky and has all of the powers in the world, and a young boy actually kind of have one of those switcheroos, and now the young boy has all of the hero's powers, and he is, and the hero doesn't have any of them. And so he's like, hey, I'm just going to go out and like save all these people. Because somebody has to, and the hero's like, you're gonna put yourself in danger, you need to stop doing that, I have to get my powers back. And it's like, oh, actually you can't get your powers back until you prove that you're a good person, because you're actually a terrible person who doesn't deserve superpowers. And so now he's having to help guide this kid to kind of prove that he does in fact deserve to be the hero that he's meant to be. And this kid is starting to come into contact with, you know, the villains and the different people that he needs to. And I love this. His mom ends up on a talk show, and they're like, aren't you worried about your son being a hero? And she's like, no, he's gonna be fine. He's always great. Really, really cute, fun story from Keenspot that just, you know, gives us a nice, warm-hearted superhero story. We've got Lion King issue 2 from Dynamite and their Disney Comics imprint. This is kind of takes place, like, Mufasa's still alive, so this kind of takes place right after Simba's just can't wait to be king kind of situation, but before Scar kills Mufasa and sends Simba out running. And so in this, Mufasa is actually currently dealing with the fact that the leopards are trying to get back into the Pride Land, even though they've been banned from it. And while he's out doing that, it turns out that an elephant has gone missing. But with Mufasa and Zazu out on this other mission, Simba decides him and Nala can take on the quest of saving the elephant. And so they are doing their own research. And I know that it takes place right after he sings Just Can't Wait to Be King, because as he's walking through, like, some of the animals are like, great job with that song the other day, sire. And I'm like, I love that we just like go with the fact that he really did sing it. It was like, it's not one of those moments like in a musical where you just like act like nobody sang. They're like, no, Simba totally performed that song for everybody, which is kind of hilarious. But of course, we're already starting to see Scar starting to twist the narrative and try to like paint Mufasa out to be the bad guy, so that maybe there will be a battle between him and the leopards, always trying to start a war that takes out Mufasa. And we're going to see exactly how all of these things come together in this story, and what kind of danger Simba gets himself in, because he always does. We've got Capes, issue 2 from Image Comics, Skybound, and our Invincible universe. This book takes place way before the events of Invincible. It kind of deals with the organization that helps, you know, formulate these superheroes, and kind of builds out like the other characters in that world. And we start to see just what that would look like. We're following around a superhero as he goes to work, and he's kind of trying to just build his life. He's supposed to be training Kid Thor, who's a new superhero on the block. And in the last issue, there was a prison break that kind of let a bunch of the superpowered villains out. And so today's job is just to go around and get all of these superheroes back in it. Well, in this issue, we talk about like the other guy that he works with all the time, who's right here in this corner, who's like been his like previous partner. It's called Commander Capitalism. And the thing is that if you look at him, he looks a lot like Omni-Man. And in fact, I thought it was Omni-Man in issue 1. I looked it up today, and everybody on the internet is having like a conversation about like who is Commander Capitalism and why does he look exactly like Omni-Man? And is there something going on in Capes that we're going to find out that there's like a clone of Omni-Man? Like, is this actually taking place at the time of Invincible? Is this before Invincible and he was a different person before that? Like, there's so much that we have no idea like what it is yet. And so, Invincible fans, I have a feeling that this is going to come to be really important in your Invincible universe at some point, and the internet is already trying to figure out how, so keep reading for more. We've got a lot of number ones, not a lot of number ones this week. That was a lie. We have some number ones this week. And the first one is TMNT Battle Nexus. This is from IDW, and this is giving us like our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles battle royale kind of situation. We're seeing that like we have DCKO and things going on. Well, this is kind of your DCKO Mortal Kombat story for the Ninja Turtles. We learn in this that there was a dimension, a world essentially where there's always been these epic battles that have had these tournaments to kind of determine different like outcomes for different situations. And the Ninja Turtles get, while they're fighting Bebop and Rocksteady, they actually get sucked into this universe and are forced to go to this like fighting realm where they're going to actually have to battle a lot of different people, and each turtle is actually going to have to fight on their own. And I do love this. It says like in the first round at least that they're all gonna have to fight on their own in the story, but I love this because it does actually like talk about the way the turtles have been displaced from everything that was going on in the story. So there's a little bit of like hints that this may even in some capacities be something that comes into play with your Ninja Turtles world. But we get to see the bad guy and the person who's kind of controlling everything, and some big reveals at the end that I don't want to show you because it's really going to set up everything that's going to happen for who these turtles are going to be fighting, and we're going to see those fights as this goes along. It doesn't have like a battle sheet or anything in the back, so I don't think we're going to see like this person versus this person necessarily on each individual issue, but I don't know because the battle has only begun, and so it's definitely cool to see where they start with. And if you're a Turtles fan and you aren't reading the main continuity Turtles and you're like, I just want some Turtles but I don't want to have to know all of what's going on, I think this is going to be the Turtles book to pick up because it's separate enough but still the adult Turtles to check out. We've got Gray Lady. This is a one-shot from Image Comics and the Ninth Circle imprint, which is cool because Ninth Circle was doing magazine-sized books. This is the first one to kind of come down to a standard-sized comic. And what a great Christmas ghost story, kind of like winter ghost story kind of story. This is all about a woman whose name is Samantha, and her husband and their son Ben are all traveling home from an event one day, a hockey game one day, and an accident happens, and now a psychic has come inside, essentially that like her life is, or Ben's life is in danger, and that the only person who can figure out how to save him is his mother. And so it's kind of like, I don't want to show you that, kind of like her having to work with this psychic woman to figure out like what is going on, what is actually happening, like who is coming after her son, and like is it connected to the accident that they were in, and what, you know, how do we process grief and all the things that are going on. And I actually don't want to show you too much because it is a one shot and there are a lot of twists and turns from page like 4. Like from 4 on, you're like, whoa, like this is really cool to see how you do it. It all takes place like after like this family has just had this huge shakeup in their life, and so emotions and tensions are high already, and then the story just builds out from there. Really cool. If you didn't check it out this week, you absolutely should. It's a great, like I said, ghost story for the holidays. We've got Sweet Paprika, Black, White, and Pink, and this is our holiday special. So this is a one shot from Image Comics, and it's Sweet Paprika, so we're going to play the game of what pages can I actually show you in the book. But since this is an anthology for the holidays, there's a couple different stories. The first one is going to be this page that we're going to show. It's actually done by Mirka and Doffo, who's done all of our Sweet Paprika stories for the most part. And it is a story of Paprika and Dill, and they're trying to celebrate Christmas Eve. And we find out that Dill actually doesn't like Christmas because that's when his mom passed away. And he's not dealing well with having to celebrate the holiday, and he ends up getting trapped in kind of a Groundhog Day situation where he keeps reliving this Christmas Eve over and over again until he can actually learn the true meaning of Christmas. But when you see what is actually happening on that Christmas Eve, you'll see why it's taking Dill a little work to figure out what he actually has to do. And then we have another story that's called Just for Work, and it's all about two comic writers who really want to make a hot and spicy story, and that's what Dill has started doing in his life, is making hot, spicy comics, a lot of it based off of his work, his time with Paprika. And so they come to him and they're like, hey, we really like our story, can you read it? Which, side note, time out, don't ever do that. If a comic creator is at somewhere, or if you write a story, don't give it to them. They can't read your story. They can't read your pitch. Don't do that. You'll get them in trouble. Back to the story in the fictional world where they actually give this comic book to Dill, and he's reviewing it, and he's like, wow, this is a really great story. But the thing about it is that there's no spiciness in it. Like, if this is supposed to be a super sexy story, you got to get super sexy. And they're like, oh, because neither one of them has ever had a sexy relationship. And so they're like, okay, we have to figure out how to be sexy. And then you get a really cute story of them both trying to figure out what exactly that means for them and how it would relate to their story. And then we do get another story in here all about a guy who is dressing up as Santa Claus to try to make some extra money to buy his girlfriend a present, and he ends up having to be Santa Claus at a rich person's party so that they can just entertain the kids while the adults are drinking, and it does not go the way anybody plans, and yet somehow that works out really well. And then lastly, we've got a story of our two other main characters from the Paprika universe who are actually one of them believes, who is supposed to be like the most evil of the demons, he believes that his girlfriend wants to actually celebrate Christmas, and he feels bad because since he doesn't like Christmas, he hasn't done any decorating. So he rushes out to the store and does his best to try to create this Christmas wonderland for her in their house, with all of the hijinks that could ensue when trying to set up a perfect Christmas day with nobody to help but a cat, an actual cat, like not like a cat that speaks or anything. It's just cute, adorable, fun, amazing stories as always in the Sweet Paprika universe, and you just need to, it's just fun, you need to read them. We've got A Veil of Tears, issue 1 from IPI Comics. This is a cool story that's taking us back to ancient Rome and giving us a Roman story of choice here, and it's all about a guy. It's about Hannibal Barca, and it picks up after some of his great wars that are known throughout history, and kind of just goes into what could happen next and the stories that didn't get told about this soldier. And he is on his own after the war, and we find out that he has Ishtar, the goddess, as somebody who's looking over his shoulder and keeping him safe. And while he's doing that, the Roman government is like, we have to get rid of this man, we have to take him out, and they're like, well, we can't because the gods are protecting him, and they're like, the gods aren't real, that's not a thing, we need to move on from that, we need to bring him in and we need to actually take him down. Meanwhile, Ishtar is like, hey, guess what? I've decided that if you don't do these things that I want you to do, I'm no longer going to watch over you. And he's like, oh, what do I have to do? And so she kind of sets him on a different mission entirely. And so we get to see all of the pieces kind of coming together for the start of this story and where it's going to lead. It's going to be some big adventures. We've got Fire and Ice Necron, issue 1 from Dynamite. This is from your Frazetta universe. Dynamite is putting out the Frazetta books and things now. And the cool thing is that Sarah Frazetta herself is actually writing this one. And so that is the granddaughter of Frank Frazetta, if you didn't know. And this is the story all about a woman who goes and like they talk about how she's this like young, like in her life she was all about like trying to find this like perfect husband in life, and she did, and she had this great experience, and then immediately like a death like raven came and like kind of signified like at their wedding something bad was going to happen, and immediately following her whole village is destroyed. And so she goes to try to find vengeance for the people who like to the people against the people who did it, and she ends up in the Ice Kingdom. And while she's there, she meets like their wolf god, and she's like, I want revenge and I will do anything that it takes to get revenge. And he's like, okay, like reinvent yourself, you're going to go to these people and you're going to essentially become their queen. And when you've become their queen, you will have the ability to rule forever, but you must do the things I tell you to. And so she shows up and she tells the king, like, I will be your wife, but you must take me in, and like immediately kind of destroys and like everything and becomes this queen and is able to set up something. And all of that is kind of the big thing that leads us towards where this story is actually going to like be, and what this character that we need to, this Necron character that we need to fear, where he comes from. And then we've got two more. We've got the Red Sonja New Year special for 2025. This is from Dynamite as well. And this is just a fun adventure for Red Sonja. And if you've never read Red Sonja, this is one you can easily jump into. And Dan Penosian's writing it, so it's a fun, like I said, a fun tale. But basically, Red Sonja is hanging out in a bar, and she is approached by some people, and they're like, hey, we need you to come help our village. It's in danger. And as that's what Red Sonja always does, she's like, okay, pay me. I'll go with you. And so she goes with these people. And when she like is on the way, they get attacked by these giant cats. They get attacked by some bears. Red Sonja kind of takes them out. And when she gets to the village, she's like, I'm here to help. How can I help you? And it basically comes to find out that this village actually has to provide these giants with a sacrifice of a woman with red hair. But they don't have anybody in their village with red hair, so they have stolen Red Sonja, kidnapped her essentially, to try to make her the sacrifice to these giants. And of course, it's Red Sonja, so that adventure doesn't go the way anybody thinks it's going to. It's a one-shot. You can just read this and find out exactly how she handles the business and starts on her new year of new adventures. And then lastly, possibly the most adorable book of the week is the Gargoyles Winter Special for 2025 from Dynamite and the Disney imprint. Honestly, this is the last one before the picks of the week, because this is the most heartfelt thing that you'll read this week, and it's perfect for the holidays. This follows one of our gargoyles as he decides he is the human Alicia's assistant, who she is, of course, a cop, and he's like, I'm going to go on this adventure because she said that she's had this case that she's never been solved, and it's always bothered her, and while she's on her date with Goliath, I'm going to go and I'm going to solve this mystery for her. And so he goes to this apartment building where the mystery is apparently that years before there was an apartment complex where everybody kind of never saw the landlord, and he was a really mean man who always just was terrible, never fixed anything, always charged them more money. And one day a fire broke out and a man in his apartment died, and the landlord went missing, and then it became ownership of a trust, and they got a new super by the trust to come and work it, and the super was the nicest person ever, but nobody knew what happened to the landlord, and she's been trying to figure it out forever. And so we get to see the investigation of that story and how it all plays out. Again, most heartfelt story of the holidays. This and the Ninja Turtles book with Casey Jones and Hating Christmas and Coming to Love It, like two just absolute, like you're gonna be like, I feel so warm and happy inside, and I believe that like there's good in this world. These issues are gonna do it, and that's definitely worth the read for that alone. Even if you don't like gargoyles, who cares? It's just a good story. All right, I'm going to take another drink before we get to pick of the week. We are drinking a Zaccardi Q, which is a Malbec. Again, it's from our friends Steve and Lily. And I'm going to take a little drink this time because now I know it's secretly spicy. Oh, man. That's like settled into its spiciness in like a really nice way. Yeah, that's really good. I still don't know what the spices are. Do you know what the spices are? Like, what flavors those are?
Definitely herbs.
Definitely herbs.
Herb spices.
And like probably some pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Like
a little bit of black pepper.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not really sure, like, beyond that, like, if there was, like, a specific set of spices. But, I mean, even in, like, the things you've been reading, it's, like, spices. And I'm like, spices? That doesn't tell me what they are. Like, tell me what spices. Like, is it coriander? Like, what are the spices?
Yeah, usually it's, like, coriander and anise and things like that. Like, those are the spices.
I just guessed because of the actual spiciness of it. So, yay, I did it. Woohoo!
Also, high tannins, high acids.
High tannins, yeah. Would you say with something that's that tanniny and that acidity that it would be better to decant it? Or
I would, just to smooth this, probably. Yeah. Just to give it a little bit more softness to the flavor.
Would it, like, so it would tone it down a little bit, like decanting would, like, tone the acid flavor out?
Yeah, take the acid out.
Okay.
Because it adds more oxygen into it.
There you go, everybody, from your secret sommelier on the backside of the camera. Make sure that if you get Zaccardi Q, decant it, and it'll be smoother. Especially if you're not somebody who likes, like, super high, strong tannins and acids and spices in your wine. Yeah. All right. I told you at the beginning, we have 4 picks of the week this week. It's the end of the year, and there were 4 books that ended this week that I was like, they all nailed their ending, and I feel it necessary to talk about every single one of them. And I don't even know what order I want to go in because they're all so good. So, you know what? We'll start with Sisterhood. This is issue 5 from Image Comics, Ghost Machine imprint, and the Hyde Street universe. And this book has been just absolutely fantastic, like great, again, classic, like teen horror story. It is all about 2 girls who are best friends, and they go to college, and one of them decides, like, I'm tired of kind of sitting around and not doing anything, so I want to pledge a sorority. And in issue 1, when she pledges that sorority, during some rush activities, she ends up actually dying. She gets stuck in a swimming pool, and she dies, and the sorority kind of doesn't do anything about it. They try to sweep it under the rug. And so the other friend is like, I'm going to do something about it, and she ends up getting the spirit of her friend kind of brought back so that she can seek her revenge. Well, now that revenge has gone wild and way, way, way beyond any sort of revenge. And now there's really not anybody left in the sorority except for, like, the main girl. And these 2 are at odds in the same body, like our 2 best friends. And they really have to come to terms with what it means to each other, like what their relationship really has been, and why they have the tension between them and the things that they love about each other. And really, that's all up until this staple line. Everything after the staple line, I'm not going to tell you, because what I think you're gonna, like, what I anticipated happening in this story all happens, and yet all doesn't happen, and all different things kind of do. And it was a wild ride from beginning to end. Like, you felt like issue 4 was kind of the wrap up, to the point where a lot of people were like, oh my god, there's an issue 5. Like, I kind of thought that it was over in 4. Well, it's not. And it gets crazier than it's been so far. And they nailed the ending. This is one of those books where, like, everybody who's reading it came back in already and was like, wow, that ending. So if you didn't read it, it's now complete, and it's definitely a horror story that you're gonna want to check out for sure. Speaking of horror stories you definitely need to check out, I Saw Santa issue 2 came out this week from Image Comics, and this is in our Spawn universe, though you don't need to know anything about Spawn at all because this is all about Santa. It was a 2-part series, and it was fantastic. Both issues, 2 issues, 2 picks of the week. Like, it was so good. This is the most brutal Christmas story I have ever seen. If you didn't read issue 1, basically on Christmas Eve, while Santa is making his rounds, he is the only person who discovers that a family has been incredibly gruesomely murdered. And he is trying to figure out how to solve the case because he's the only person who knows what is actually happening. And it is all because of a young boy who, when he was a kid, Santa gave him cold hole in his stocking, and he kind of set him on a path of being this demented serial killer. Now we see that it's been years and years since issue 1. Like, we're kind of like flashing through different years as Santa is still trying to piece this all together, to the point where he gets like unafraid of going out on Christmas Eve and feels like he can't actually do it, but he knows that he has to. And it's so, I don't even want to show you any of the like crazy, like awesome, like insane violence things, but basically Christmas Eve has come again, and our serial killer has taken another family hostage, and he knows that the only person that he wants to see the performance of this and that he wants to be able to stop him is Santa Claus. And we get to see Santa showdown with this and all the twists and turns. It is very brutal, it is very violent, it is very well written, and it's quite possibly my favorite thing to ever happen in the Spawn universe now. Like, this was awesome. And again, only 2 issues. I hope they collect it so that like every Christmas people can continue to buy this. Like, please, like, you know, Todd Father and all of your Spawn goodness, like, make this come out to every Christmas, because I think people are going to want to pick it up every year. It's so good. We have the wrap-up of No Man's Land with issue 4 from Image Comics, and our one-man art, which is Simon Kodransky, doing the art and the story all alone on another fantastic book in Simon's catalog. This one is all about a man who, during the Cold War, is at his point of retirement from the like CIA, and he's ready to go, ready to be done, and except for the fact that they tell him he has another job that he has to go on. And basically there is a patch of land between Russia and, I guess it's not even land, there's a patch of ice between Russia and America that freezes over every winter, and it basically becomes a new land bridge between the two. And in that zone, nobody owns it because it's technically just the ocean freezing over. And so somebody is murdered right smack in the middle of that, and they send a Soviet spy, Soviet spy and an American CIA member are both sent to kind of figure out the emergency of this murder and figure out who is responsible for it, and kind of make sure it doesn't get any further out than that. And twists and turns have led us to this issue where we think we know who the villain is and what is happening, but it turns out that there's always something more in a spy thriller like this, and it just gets bigger as it unfolds. Like, every little piece of the puzzle that we kind of think we solve, it just kind of gets a little bit darker and a little bit deeper into like government cover-ups and things. And Simon really just builds such a great story in this. And the trade paperback comes out in May, so if you didn't get it in single issues, you still have a ways to wait, or you can rush out to your comic book store and pick up all 4 issues now, so you don't have to wait for a great wild adventure that is definitely so good. And lastly, the end is here, and we're all very sad to see it happen, but it wraps up so perfectly. We have Orla, issue 5 from Mad Cave. Such a good story. If you didn't read Orla, it is the story of a woman who desperately wants to find the love of her life, but has always had a problem where when she is dating terrible men, she turns into a giant monster and gives them exactly what they deserve for being terrible, horrible men. And at the beginning of our series, Orla found that she really liked the person from the bookstore that owned the bookstore next to her. And she feels like they've developed a great relationship. And we've seen over the course of the 5 issues, like, Orla kind of realized like her personal monster problems are kind of something that she doesn't want to involve them in, but also is something that they're willing to take on. Like, it's the first person she's ever been truthful with. Well, in the last issue, we found out that there's actually like a whole society of these monster people, these women who destroy others. And Orla, they have come to recruit Orla to join them, and they are doing it at her best friend's wedding. And they basically tell Orla, you've got every 10 minutes we're going to kill somebody at this wedding until you decide to join us and open up and like let the monster free. And Orla has to come to figure out how to be the monster she's meant to be, but also be the woman she's meant to be, and have the life that was always meant for her, whatever that may be. And they absolutely nail it. This book was fantastic. I'm so glad that it exists, and you need to read the whole thing. And if you shop at Bad City, that will be when it comes out in trade paperback, because this is the only issue of it at all that we have. So yeah. All right, we've got some great other books in stock that came out this week. It was such a big week. We've got Power Rangers Prime issue 13. Marvel had their winter break special, much like their summer special, swimsuit edition essentially, but in the winter. Green Arrow issue 31, 1776 number 2. Age of Revelation wrapping up some more titles with Cloaker, Dagger, X-Vengers, and Deadpool, and X-Patriot, X-Men all hitting that issue 3. Absolute Superman issue 14, Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 7, Batman Static Beyond issue 2 dropped, Immortal Legend Batman issue 5, Detective Comics number 1104. We had some battles in the DC KO world with Red Hood versus the Joker. There was some more. I'm going to grab all of those battles really fast. There was also the Justice League Unlimited had a tie-in to DC KO, and there was a battle between Lex Luthor and the Demon this week. This is all fight month for DC KO, so you're going to see a massive stack of fights happening every week from all the different issues.
There was also a Green Lantern, but we're out.
We are out of the Green Lantern one.
And there was an Absolute Wonder Woman.
But we're out.
Yeah.
That was your Absolute Wonder Woman crossing over with Absolute Batman for the first time, and we are so out of that. We've got Trinity issue 6, Amazing Spider-Man hit issue 18 with its nullified variant. Spawn is at issue 371. Justice League versus Godzilla vs. Kong volume 2 hit that issue 5. Harley Quinn issue 45 dropped, as well as Harley Quinn and Ivy Life of Crimes issue 2, which of course is a huge fan favorite here at Bad City. We had the G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 152 facsimile, I believe it is, and then Green Lantern issue 30. And we launched the Will of Doom this week to kind of continue where the Doom storyline is going after the big Doom miniseries we had recently. We've got a bunch of trade paperbacks and graphic novels, and we've got Demon Summoner. This is from Strangers. It looks wild. Look at this art. Look at these black gutters. It's so cool. You guys, if you want a crazy, awesome, like, off-the-wall book, this is definitely looking like it's going to be one. Red Before Black is finally in trade paperback. This is an awesome series from Dr. Stephanie Phillips and Boom Studios. Romanus Magica already in trade paperback, which I'm really excited to see, and I still don't know who the publisher is. Every time I want to say it, and I still always forget because it's not written on there. Cambrian Comics. I'm very excited that they made a trade paperback for that awesome story, and I really hope, honestly, that we see more from this universe, because this ragtag team of the Roman soldier and the prophetess and all of the other people was really good, and I want to see some more. This ends tonight. We definitely need more in this universe as well. I love that the tagline is "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," as these women on a bachelorette party who also just happen to be assassins have to go through a lot of trouble. We're taking everyone down with us. Hit its trade paperback for the whole entire story. So if you miss that wild espionage, sci-fi, like crazy off-the-wall story from Matt Rosenberg, you definitely need to pick up that trade. Absolute Flash got its hardcover and trade paperback for Volume 1 out this week. This is issues 1 through 6, and we are almost out of those as well. And then The Future Is got its first trade paperback. It is compact size. It is 7 issues. And guess what? It is $9.99. Way to go, Rekka, for putting your trade in that compact size and making it $10. You hit it. You got it. I'm really excited to put this in the hands of more people who need to just join in on that adventure. That's all we have for you tonight. Don't forget, this week is another holiday week. So Wednesday is the New Year's Eve. We will be closing at 5 p.m., but we will be open so you can come get your Ultimate in games and all your other comics. And then we will be closed on New Year's Day to celebrate the start of the new year. We have had a fantastic year at Bat City with you for 2025. We are so thankful for everybody that's come through the doors and all the fun and adventures we've had, all the school visits, all the library visits, all the parties, all the events, everything we've done. It has been amazing and wonderful. And you know what? Cheers to 2026 and all the incredible things we're going to do together then. We can't wait to see you then. But until then, happy reading, everyone.